Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about boning, right? Everybody's paying attention here?
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about boning. So why is it called boning? Anybody again?
Whale bones.
Whale bones. Why? Because the bone of a whale have a little flexibility. And the whale is the biggest animal in the world, so the bones are really large, so you can cut them and use them for garments. Okay? Now, we could use anything that is stiff as a boning, except that if you do it on wood or a piece of metal, you bend down, you stab yourself, and you die from being a fashion victim, right? So there are different kinds of boning. It used to be the most popular called covered boning. So you have, this is the boning, this is the piece of metal, a plastic, okay? And it's stiff. So if you stitch on top of it, you will break your needle, okay? So what you do is you remove the boning, so you have the casing, and this is what all of you are keep drawing as an embellishment that you think that you need to have, okay? And by the way, if you're planning on doing it, you're going to make it out of your own fabric because it's an embellishment. You're not going to use this ugly cotton cheap poplin fabric. See that I said fiber content and name of fabric, okay? It is very stiff. I actually like it for that reason, because I will tell you the other option. Except that it is a little bit more cumbersome when you sew it, for the reason that since this is so stiff, and you ladies can confirm to this, you might have worn a strapless dress and the boning has stabbed yourself, right? So you need to take quite a few precautions to make sure that this is not sharp like it is right now and is digging into your skin. Because if it does, what is that called?
Pain.
Lawsuit. Okay? And you don't want to have a lawsuit. So what you do is you cut your boning to the size of what you need. You remove the plastic, and then you fold in always 1/4 of an inch less than your seam allowance. So since we're going to have a bustier that is the edge of the garment at the top and the bottom, how much seam allowance are we going to have at the top and the bottom of the bustier? Since your bustier is a finished garment at the top and the bottom, it's not going to be attached to anything, because if it's attached to a skirt, then it's a dress. It's not a bustier. Okay? So how much would be your seam allowance at the edge, at the top, and the bottom? 1/4 of an inch. 1/2 inch is when you connect two pattern pieces. This is going to be the edge of the garment. Didn't we do that at the edge of the collar?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay? So if our seam allowance is at 1/4 of an inch, we're going to cut the boning at 1/2 inch. Always 1/4 of an inch less than your seam allowance. Why is that? Because of the folding of the edge of the tape, we might get a little bit of batting. I will show you what that is when we make the bust cups to put it on top of it. We might burn the tips to make them rounded, okay? Or we can cut the edges. Or maybe we'll do all of them because I don't want to get sued, right? But we need to protect our customers because if they get hurt, they're not buying from us again. So this is regular covered boning. There is a metal boning. And actually I love it, but it has a lot of inconveniences. Even though this is metal, it's made on a spiral metal. So as you wear it, it bends with the shape of your body, but it always stays straight. So the idea is that it's really tight on your waist. So this is sticking out from your waist up. If your waist is loose, then your boning will fall and will defeat the purpose. Okay, so why is it difficult? Imagine if cutting a piece of plastic, it stabs you. Imagine out of metal. That would be a double lawsuit, right? We probably will have one of those billboards on 95 that says, I made $1.5 million from being stabbed from a boning, right? So they have these little metal caps on the end to protect it. Now, they are horribly difficult to put on by yourself. I have tried with three people and 5 pliers at the same time to try to close them up, and they still will not be done properly and it would fall off. So you can actually buy them per size, except you're stuck to the standard size that they make. Okay? Now, if you are a big enough manufacturer that you're gonna have volume, you can actually have them custom made to your length. Okay? But remember, different sizes, your torsos get longer, your boning has to be adjusted. So your production has to be really big to be able to afford that. So I'm gonna tell you a website. Maybe you guys should explore it. It has many supplies and trims from very traditional and old type of making corsets. They even sell patterns on how to make corsets from the 17 and 1600s. Okay? So if you're interested in looking at it, it's called corsetmaking.com. I hope they're still in business. And they have a piece of liquid rubber that you can dip the tips on it and let it dry so it would be rubberized at the end. Except that you need to do it several times and it lasts over a day and a half to dry. So to get the boning on your right side is going to be probably about 7 days of waiting until it dries that to be able to use them. So we come into modern times, and this is what you find in the stores right now. Anything that has a boning is going to have what this is called Regeline. You guys can see the name right here somewhere. Oh, I got the Chinese version of it. So Regeline is RIGILENE. You can find them on Amazon. You're going to need probably about at least 3 yards or so per bustier. Remember, we're going to make a toile and we're going to make a real one. So think about it. Maybe you want to buy a box like this. I think I paid like $1,700 or $1,800, and it comes 50 yards. Maybe you can buy them between several ones of you. No, I'm not saying that you're gonna get 50 yards for yourself. How many bustiers you're gonna make?
I said the whole refund.
No, you said 1,700 to 1,800.
No, $17, $18. Sorry. I just was checking if you guys were paying attention.
Sure.
I'm glad that you guys did. Right? No, $17, $18, and you know, you can easily probably buy a box between maybe 10 or 8 of you, and you can split it, right? So that would be easy. Unless you're planning on using the rest of your life, I would as well just get the whole box. This comes only black and white. I even have found it in nude sometimes, okay? But usually it's black and white, so you use white for the light colors, you use black for darker colors. Same thing as the covered boning, same thing as your interfacings, right? So if I'm having a black interfacing, I'm gonna have a black boning. If I'm gonna have a white, I'm gonna have white interfacing, okay? Now, this is the most common that you find in the stores today on clothes already made. Why? Because what's the most expensive thing in fashion?
Time.
Right. So this is a sew-through boning. You can actually stitch on top of it. Okay? So you don't have to go through taking the casing out and folding it and stitching it and sticking it and then finishing it. It really has a lot of steps. I will show you when we do the demonstrations on how to do it, just so you guys are aware of it. but I would like you guys to use what you're gonna be using in the industry, which is Ridgeline. I need you guys to get 1/2 inch wide. It does come as narrow as 1/8, but I need you guys to get 1/2 inch. Be careful, because if you go to some of the fabric stores, like Joann's, oh no, they're closed, they might not have it, right? They would sell it at 1/4 inch. Get 1/2 inch. What is the problem with the Ridgeline? As easy and comfortable to use and to put on, which is great, it bends. And that's why when you try on some of your strapless dresses, and then when you take them off after your party, they have a permanent crease across your waist. That's because they use this boning and it bends. You can unbend it, okay? But what is my solution to this problem? When I make a bustier for one of my customers, I put about 21 bonings, okay? Yours, in average, is gonna be anywhere between 6. And for those of you that are going to do grommets, you're gonna do 2 more at the opening. So you probably will do 8, okay? Now, if you have a short bustier to the waist, you're gonna need less. If you have one to your hips, you're gonna need more, right?
I have a question.
So it all depends on your design.
Could you layer that? Like, could you do 2? of
Too
them?
bulky.
Oh, too bulky.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you're the designer. You can create a lot of things, right? But still, it's bendable. And that's why you can stitch on it, because it's not a thick piece of plastic. It's just, it's actually woven, and it has little filaments of plastic. So when the needle goes in, it slides to the sides of it, and that's why it doesn't break your needle. Okay? But I'm gonna show you at least 3 different methods on how to use this boning, where you see the top stitching, you see half of the top stitching, and you don't see it at all. Do you have to put your boning on a seam? No. You can put your boning anywhere you want, even in your forehead. Okay? No. If you want to put it on the neckline, you want to put it on the side, you want to reinforce it on the anywhere, you can use it, because you can stitch on top of it. Okay? So think about this as construction inside an inner construction, right? Not necessarily what most of you understood with the boning, that it has to be on the outer side exposed. You can have it exposed as a decoration, okay? But you don't have to have it on the outside. Are we okay with this? Because I don't have it on this. This is just a piece of fabric to make a line. There is nothing in there. The boning is actually on the lining. Okay? So, your bustier, as you can see, is very stiff, right? So we're going to be using on the self, we already know what self is, right? It's the outside fabric of the garment. We're gonna use what is called woven interfacing. And this is not with glue. So it's not fusible. This is sew-on interfacing. I'm gonna give you a swatch so you can physically go to the store and say, I need this, okay? And that way they don't come and tell you and they sell you something that is not, okay? You go to Mood Fabrics, they have it. They don't know they have it. But tell them to take you to the interfacing department, bin or whatever you want to call it, and you're going to find it. No glue. You remember the soft fusible that I make you guys buy for the color? You're going to use it together with this. Why is that? Because this is a cotton fabric that is heavily starched. That is why it's stiff. Okay? So as it is a cotton fabric, what happens to cotton? The wrinkles. So if we put that fusible, it will give you that stiffness that we need, but it will not show the creases through the garment on the outside. Now, your lining, which is going to be inside, it also will be fused. So if you guys want to look at your materials, you're gonna need 3/4 of a yard of this interfacing, woven interfacing. And by the way, if you go to Miami stores, probably they're gonna call it crinoline. It is the wrong name for it. Crinoline is almost like a plasticky fabric that is used for, you know, those quinceañera hoop skirts, right? Because that hoop quinceañera skirt is actually called a crinoline. And that is the fabric that is used for that, right? A petticoat is a skirt that has layers of tulle. So a petticoat gives you fullness by the boldness of the tulle, where a crinoline, it has those stiff hoops around it. Can you wear both of them? Yes. A lot of times you actually wear both of them. Okay? But I'm making sure that you guys understand the name. Unfortunately, at the stores here in Miami, they call it crinoline, and they don't bother to correct the customers. So that's what it is. But nevertheless, I found last year, somebody went to the store asking for this and asked for crinoline, and they gave them real crinoline. Okay? And still couldn't use it. So I'm gonna give you a swatch so you guys can go to the store with this. So, depending on your bustiers, if it goes to the waist or it goes to your hips, you can get anywhere between 3/4 to a yard of this per bustier. Remember, we're gonna make a toile, and then we're gonna make the real one, okay? So we're gonna end up with 2 bustiers, fully completed, finished. Yes? So if you're getting boning, make sure you get the right color to match your fabrics, right? You can get 3 yards. If they're both light color, like Ricky, you can get 6 yards. If you're getting a darker thing, then you probably need 3 and 3. Are we all okay? All right. And then the fusible, like the collar, you can need about 1.5 yards.
The one we used for the collar.
Yes, that really thin one. Not the one that you got originally, because since the bustier is going to be so tight, and that is a non-woven, it doesn't have construction. Once you put it on and make it tight, it's going to start ripping on the inside. And can you imagine after you spend, what is it called, 9 hours? 9 hours of making a bustier, and then you're interfacing, it all rips on the inside? How depressing is that? So let's get a real material that actually will hand that tightness that is going to need the bustier. Okay? We're good? Okay. So those are the materials that you need. I'm going to give you a swatch. If you guys want to, I can give you a sample of this boning so you guys can take it with you guys. I'm more than happy to left my scissors. Okay. So let's stop it and start it again.